Hi everyone, I'm Alistair Lewis, the founder of Automating Data-Driven Design, and I am delighted to welcome you to this session today. We are going to be talking about Forma, Finch, and Revit as an integrated workflow. And I'm really pleased to have speakers from each of those different companies who have got to show you that integrated workflow together. I'm going to let them introduce themselves and then we'll get straight into the session. So Jesper, do you want to go first? Just introduce yourself and what you're building.
Yes, sure. My name is Jesper. I'm one of the founders of Finch. I am an architect and computational designer, and here at Finch, I'm in charge of the product. And Finch generates floor plans and the inside of the building using AI and graph technology. And I'm delighted to give you a little demo of it after Anders has sent me a building mass from Forma. That's me.
Perfect. Anders, do you want to go next?
Sure, yes. So I'm Anders Wester, and I'm an architect at Autodesk Forma. I've been part of the team since we were Spacemaker, the Norwegian startup. So it's gonna be 4 or 5 years now. And I help enterprise customers adopt Forma across the globe. So need both Japanese customers and Americans and Europeans on a daily basis, and helps them to give a flavor of AI into their workflow using Forma.
Amazing. Thank you very much. And Cesar, do you want to give us a quick intro?
Hi, everyone. My name is Cesar Escalante. I'm an architect based in San Francisco. I'm a senior technical marketing manager for Autodesk, and I'm a spokesman of Autodesk Innovation. I'm very excited about joining Finch in this integration with Forma. And yeah, excited to be here. Thanks.
Amazing. Leo, do you want to say a quick say about you as well?
Thank you, Alistair. Yeah, hi, I'm Leo. I'm an IT manager for APLB, so I'm kind of representing the IT side of things generally.
Excellent. And Arvinder, after you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Arvinder. I'm an architectural designer in Chicago. I've been working as a designer for the past 6 years and helping Alistair co-host these events, these webinars. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, amazing. Thank you very much. So yeah, exactly as everyone's talked about, we've got these amazing tools and we are exploring these through these workflow webinars essentially. And the idea is to show integrated workflows of things which help you in your day-to-day work. And at the moment, we're looking at generative design tools, early stage design, and how we can get from feasibility stage into more detailed design stage or schematic stage, I suppose, from the US audiences. And trying to demonstrate that we've got all these amazing tools. How do they work together? And today we're going to really demonstrate how 3 tools are working together in a very seamless manner, which is amazing to see, and not something I don't think we've seen that easily in the past. So we don't have to go to external file formats or the rest of it. It's all integrated. So we're going to start off with Forma, and they're going to have Anders is going to take us through a kind of a project as a demonstration, and then move into Finch, and then move that into Revit at the end. So Anders, I will pass over to you if you want to share your screen, and we will get going.
Thank you so much.
Okay, here it is. There you go.
Excellent. Yeah, so we jump straight into the Forma dashboard, my private dashboard here, where I have all my projects. And as you can see, this is Google Chrome, so everything I do is cloud-based, so it's not on desktop. And here when I click on these buttons here, I can share these projects with team members or external parties, customers or collaborators. In this case, I've shared this project with Cesar and with Jesper that's going to collaborate with me on this one. So what I will do is that I will start with creating a new site. And this one is going to be in New York City. So either I type the address or I just simply move down to ground level. And I will take this little park. If you know Manhattan, you will probably think that there's not going to be anything built here. We're going to change that today. I select the boundary box where my project should be created, and I click confirm. And what happens now is something that I spent a lot of hours on at architecture school in practice to fetch data. And what Forma does is that it's connect with reliable sources on topography, on buildings, on parcels across the globe. And depending on where you are in the world, we fetch data from different sources. And in this case, we are in the US, so we use US sources. For example, we have topography from Esri, we have building from US structures, and we have parcels from Regrid. I will just take this pack here, which we call starter pack, which will create the sort of the foundation for my design here. So I click on order and I wait a second, and that will be added into my scene. As that is done, I enter into this 3D environment that has been created for me. And for this demo, we're going to create the project in this park here, right? So first off, I like to understand a little bit better of what the context is. So go into my board. And what the board does is it allows me to put in different pictures, texts on describing my project. So for example, I put in the architecture brief here, that how many GFI it should be, for example. And I also just created a site for me to put in analytic information. So I start with a 2D picture here, and I add a couple of different analyses that Forma provides. For example, the sun analysis, the wind analysis. Sorry about that. One more time. This is how you see it being live. Sometimes you need to refresh the browser. But again, what I do now is that I pull up the different analysis that it's important for me to understand the site. That's what I typically do initially. So I line them up like this to get a better overview of this site. So I got the sun analysis here, I got the wind study here, and a microclimate study. Then I probably gonna do some sketching here. I just add a couple of notes that saying that this here is where I put my piazza, and I probably gonna take some sort of direction here to path from this road to this road. So going back to the design here, I will start sketching. So my first simple sketch would probably be just to create a simple L-shaped building like this. Edit it a little bit like this. And I will make that 15 floors high. And I will go into 3D mode. At this point, I can use our AI wind analysis. It's a very rapid way of understanding the wind. I can also do a full wind analysis, which is a CFD fluid dynamics wind analysis, which is more thorough. It takes a little bit more time. But you can see as I change this, it automatically updates and it gives me instant response in how wind change on the ground level. So if this is my first iteration here, I'd like to say that this is a residential project, and I go into area metrics. So I instantly get the figures here. I understand that we have roughly 100,000 square meters of existing building, and I added 122,000 more. I can go in to analyze this with sun and see a little bit more in depth how this looks like as it is today, and also when it's done, the analysis is done, we'll also see how it looks like with this building here. So as soon as it's done, I can go in here and check it out. And it also gives me these different figures here, so I can keep track on when I change it. Do I make it for the better or do I make it worse? So in this case, I have done a couple of proposals already just to save a little bit of time. I created one project looking like this, one look more like a tower, and one that I am more comfortable with after have designing this for an hour or so and understanding the site. And the reason why I choose this one, it can be shown in when I enter into compare here. So compare is a way to seamlessly understand, for in this case, the sun analysis. Now I have the 3 different options side by side, and I can go in and evaluate them by, for example, clicking here and see how many hours of sun do we have on those different proposals, and I can evaluate which one is better. So if I choose this one here, I can also go over and look at, for example, more in depth, that specific proposal. In this case, I have the microclimate, the daylight analysis on the right-hand side, and I have the wind analysis on my left-hand side. So it's a very intuitive way to understand your proposal in a very early phase of the project. Going back to the board, which I have created here, the starting phase, I can also add continuously as I go, I can add more and more details into this board. This is live linked to my proposal. So as soon as I update something in the proposal, it turns up here in my board. And for example, if you look into the sun analysis here, I can take this one here, I can slice it and see what happens if I place this building here. So you can very easily understand what happens when I place this proposal on this site. You can see that we take away a couple of hours of sun on the courtyard, but more or less the rest of the park is totally okay. And we can do that with all the different other analyses as well, like wind, microclimates, or etc. So with that said, I'm going back here to my proposal, and what I'm gonna do now I've done preparations, I've done discoveries for this site, I did the site analysis, etc. I haven't touched upon solar energy, embodied carbon, and all other different cool stuff that we have. So it's much to explore, but what I'm gonna do now is that I'm gonna move from external volume study to internal understanding of the site. And that is where Finch comes into play. So I go into extension here, and I will add the Finch extension and also the Revit extension, because what I need to do to be able to use that is that I need to download the plugin for Revit, and that's done in this app store. It's free, and it's just to be added into Revit. Here we also find Finch. Since I already installed it, it turns up here. When I click on it, I have the possibility to send this straight into Finch just by clicking on export. So what happens now is that everything that's in here will ship directly in the cloud to Jesper, so he can continue work on this from his side. And on the bottom here, you can see that you can go to the Finch web app, or you can also read more about you can have FAQ or more documentation about how this specific extension to Forma works. So with that said, I'm leaving the floor over to Jesper for internal studies.
Thank you very much, Anders. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys. There we go. And thanks again, Anders, for sending the context and the building mass. And here I am in Finch with the site that Anders just designed. I have opened it here. And what we're going to do in this part of the demo is that we're going to generate some circulation within the building, make sure it follows fire rules and so on. And then we're going to generate some floor plans within the building as well. Before I jump into Anders' building here and start generating, I'm going to show you the plan libraries. I'm just going to open another tab here. And this is the heart of Finch, one might say. Here I have my floor plans that I have saved from previous projects and so on. And I also have all of my colleagues' plans that they have shared. And this is a great way of sharing knowledge internally within a organization. And then your custom plan library becomes the foundation when you start to generate things in Finch. So this is your custom data set. But I'm going to jump straight into one of my plans just to show you how it works. So this is how a plan works and looks in Finch. Similar to Revit and so on, one can simply click the wall tool, start designing and changing things. And the one thing that is very, very different between Finch and most other tools is that everything is a little bit flexible. So if I pull a wall like this, you can see that the whole plan starts to flex a little bit. But that is not always how you want your architecture to behave. So then you can set up constraints saying, for example, I don't want my corridors or my bathroom to flex if I stretch it. And the next time I stretch it, you can see that it's just the bedrooms up here that are taking up all of the stretch, so to speak. So this is a great way of telling Finch how you want your architecture, your design to behave. I'm going to save my plan here, and then I'm going to jump back into Anders' project here. So here we are. So let's jump into a story. I'm just going to select one in the middle here. It's a complex shape. I mean, we know that the real projects are not just the boxes, so I think this is a very good example. So the first thing I'm going to do now is to generate a corridor, a couple of stairwells, and then I'm going to generate some floor plans as well. So I'm simply going to click the story. I click generate, unit mix and corridors, and I fire up the algorithm. And then there's a number of different parameters to set to steer the algorithm. For example, I know I like my stairwells on the inside here, and then I can specify the different distances. For example, maximum distance for a single way exit, maybe it's 15 meters, double, which is usually twice that. There you go. And then I get some information here when the algorithms work. So the green dots indicates that it's close enough within my single distance, the gray ones that you can reach it from the multiple distance. And if I were to force the algorithm to say, just give me one stairwell here, then you can see it places in the middle, but this is not accessible due to fire rules or fire regulation, according to the input I've given the algorithm. But let's put one stairwell here in the middle and the others in the end. I think that's nice. There we go. I'm going to apply it to the story. And then worth mentioning is that everything that you create and generate in Finch is also editable. So I can simply go in, pull a wall, or select and type the distance, 4,200. And it works both in imperial and metric, of course. Okay, so I'm happy with the circulation as an example. The next step, I'm going to generate a unit mix. So I click the area, one or multiple, where I want to generate, and I'm going to generate unit mix around existing corridor. And this is a great way of working with algorithms if you, for example, have an existing structure and so on. And then I have a default setting here. I can, of course, change the sizes of the units or the ratios and so on, and the algorithm tries to put it within the building as efficiently as possible. Once again, I'm going to pause it, bake it, and once again, I can always go in and change things manually. For example, if I would like this one to align, I can go in here, click the align tool. There you go. So circulation in place, unit mix in place. The next step I'm going to do is to generate a couple of floor plans here. Before I start generating floor plans, I'm going to set up a couple of graph rules to steer the generation of the floor plans. And I can do that up here. And I'm going to simply, I have a wall here that I have not connected. There you go. I'm going to say that all of my bedrooms should be more than 10 square meters. As an example, all of my bathrooms should be more than, let's put 2 square meters, for example. And then I'm going to fire up the generation of floor plans by simply selecting a unit, click Generate, Floor Plan, give Finch a couple of seconds to get started. What happens now is that Finch analyzes where we have the corridor, where do we have the outside, and so on. And then I'm getting some results presented here in 3 categories. I have my own plans, I have my colleagues' plans, and below here, we'll start popping in Finch-generated plans as well. And then I can simply browse around. If I click my own plan, I get the example plan I was showing you. I can see what has my colleagues been up to, and I can also go down here to the Finch generated plans and get some inspiration of where I can take this design. I'm going to select my own one for this example. As you can see, it has some score of 83%, and that is due to the compliance. Some of the spaces in my own design did not follow the rules that I set up here in the beginning of it. And if I am very serious about these rules, of course, I can go down to the Finch generated plans that follows the rules perfectly, but I would like to use my own here. So I'm going to assign it to the unit. There we go. And then I can do the same thing for the rest of the apartment. I'm going to do something very quick here in this one, just to fill the story. Starting to get some example. I'm going to add that one. There we go. And one of my favorite features is simply to go in and select copy. I'm going to select everyone that is of the same size. I'm going to paste it. Finch automatically groups it and pastes it. So when it comes out from Revit, it's model group. So if I update in one, it will also update in the rest. Should just go ahead and maybe add a small one in this one as well. There we go. Let's copy paste it. There we go. And while I'm designing, of course, I'm getting all kinds of output. How many space type, or if I have a lot of storage here, where's the bedrooms and so on. And it's just a great way of keeping track of all your data in the project. And when we come this far, Anders has fixed the site. He has modeled the building mass. We've started to work here with the story. Next step is, of course, then going into Revit, and I will leave that up to Cesar. But before I hand it over, I want to add that everything in Finch is also structured as a BIM model. So when Cesar go ahead and import it into Revit, it will create real Revit geometry that Cesar will show you. I think that's it for my part.
All right, it's my turn to wrap this session with how we move that interesting layout into Revit. Just to double check, Alistair, how much time I have left?
You got 10 minutes. You've got plenty of time.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm going to share my screen here. All right, to expedite the connection between Finch and Revit, you should download the app Finch for Revit from the Autodesk App Store, and that's going to add the Finch application under the Add-ins tab, Finch here. Now, why moving this information into Revit? The idea is that in this workflow, you start massing, you start making massing decisions based on analytical feedback from Forma, moving into Finch for plan layout and program validation. And then once you arrive to solution that meets program and environmental requirements, you can take your project to the next level in Revit and move it into detailed design for construction and agency review. The Finch connection comes with this app. When you click on it, it'll give you access to the Finch panel. You need to log into your account using your Finch credentials. And from here, you can select the project you're part of and the variant of the project that you want to bring into Revit. These are the different options available to me. And then you can use some of the options in the panel to be a bit more granular on what things are brought into Revit. The tool give you the option to create or not sheets. So for every floor plan in Finch, there will be a new sheet and view created automatically. And you can also choose to import the furniture coming from Finch as well. You can enable or disable it as needed. I also need to know that massing can also get started in Revit and move into Finch using the upload massing. But for this workflow, I'm going to focus on how can you download Finch variation into Revit. Now, the translation of Finch geometry into Revit, it's intensive. It's going to take several minutes. I'm going to skip that due to time, but it can take anything between a minute to several minutes. Once you download the variant you need, you are able to see something like this. This is the building and the context brought into the Revit environment. There are two parts to this. The context was brought into Revit using the Forma plugin that Anders showed how to download. You just go into the website, you go into Maintenance Site, load proposals, and the context comes empty. And then the second part to this is bring the Finch building. And the Finch building was brought using the Finch panel. Now, these, I have to note, is not an imported mesh. These are actually Revit objects. And as such, they can be swapped by your standards or your production family types. And the nice thing as well is that units from Finch comes into Revit as groups. And you just added one group inside Revit, add additional levels of detail, and they will propagate across the entire building. The other thing to note is that the tool automatically creates not only floor plans for each of the levels in Finch, but it also creates area plans to track gross building and rentable areas. And it creates sheets with placeholders title box. So rooms are brought into a Revit with the right number and name. Areas are brought into Revit with the right number and name. And let me open an area plan here. And it creates for you the area separation lines that are needed to create those calculations. And so things like schedules of rentable area and gross area are also available to you in Revit. This is a summary of the rentable area per level. This is a summary of the gross building takeoff. And this is a summary of the unit type across the building. And so you can take it from here to the construction documentation level. And as you can see, in just a few minutes of these demonstrations, we're able to show how can you go from scratch to detailed design in just minutes. So that's the main value proposition here. So with that, I'm closing my share of the presentation and open this to Q&A.
Okay, amazing. That's really great. Thank you very much. And yeah, it's such an amazing workflow. It's really exciting to see that in full flow. We have got a question here from David. So how do you differentiate between all the Finch generated plans? For example, does it tell you what is being prioritized in each iteration?
Yes, it's a good question. So we have a lot of plans in there, and they all are being scored, and you can in the UI see the different score. For example, how much it resembles your own data set, how well it's if it's accessible, if it's followed the rules you've set up, and so on. And then we have the visual interface where you can just click through, because we've seen that has been the most efficient way, most appreciated way from our users to visually be able to see the different results and click them and choose basically.
And just following on from that, how do people build up their own library of apartment types? How do they bring that into Finch so it knows what your typical layouts are?
Yeah, so for our enterprise customers, this is a service we provide. So we add the first 80 plans for them. And if you're a basic user, you can either upload it from existing software like Rhino Grasshopper, or draw them in Finch. But I think the most common way is to start generating things, manipulate it a little bit, make it your own, and save it to your plan library after that. So you can always start like that.
Okay. And Adrian's asked, is the kitchen just a designated area, or can Finch lay out the cabinet runs?
We can do cabinet, or you can upload your own furniture and add like cabinets and so on. Finch does not generate cabinet runs for you yet, at least. Yeah,
there was a generative design tool that did that. I'd have to remember what it was called, but yeah, there was someone had developed a generative design tool to do kitchen layouts. So Adrian, if you want to reach out to me separately, I'll try and find that for you. And I can't think of the name at the moment. Anders, I was going to ask you about with Forma, how does it search for sites around the world? So I've had a user ask me about sites in India. Can Forma do sites in India? And what sort of data is it using to capture like the site information?
Yeah, it's a good question. We actually have a website that gives you an overview of the data sets that we tap into in the different regions. So if you are creating a project in India, for example, the level of quality will probably be lower than if you create a project in UK, for example, in the US. We have some what we call core market that we have focused on for a little bit longer time, which we started in the Nordics and the US. And typically what we fetch is governmental data. So it depends a little bit about how open data is in the specific country you're working on. So we provide the possibility to create projects everywhere. It's just that the quality in Burkina Faso is less than it's in Stockholm, for example, because of the possibility to fetch data. But roughly the worst is point client of 20 meters, and the best one is 0.5.
Yeah, okay, that's really helpful. We've got another question here. Can Finch take existing plans and then use that plan's existing conditions as a base and provide multi-layout options?
So we can for sure take existing plans and can refit into different apartments. The multi-options is then generated by Finch. So your own plan serves as a base, but you just get one suggestion of your plans that we have kind of tried to fit in depending on the rules that you set up.
I think also another option is to, if your starting point is existing Revit model, you can create a mass object that defines the floor plate of the Revit building and send it to Finch, and in Finch do the interior layout. You have also to identify where the corridors are, where the exit points will be, but
Yeah,
that could be another possibility.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. We try to keep it as open as possible. So if you, for example, have inner walls or demising walls in Revit, you can also stream them up to Finch and generate the floor plans in there.
Okay. There's no more questions from the audience. Arvinder, I was going to wonder if you wanted to ask some questions.
I mean, yes, questions, but first a statement. Just want to take a moment to appreciate the quality of these two tools that you guys have done. They're really beautiful. Like the craftsmanship on both of them is just amazing. So kudos to that. My question was regarding when's the appropriate time to kind of bring in Forma's massing into Finch? Because putting on my early stage designer hat on, there's a lot of changes that happen to massing that are sometimes based on the interior layout as well. They kind of work both in sync. So if there are changes in massing that happen after I've made some significant progress in my Finch model, how do those synchronize with each other and how can I iterate?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and you were able to update the mass afterwards. So you can upload your mass, start working with the inside, and then update your mass if you, for example, want to make it a little bit wider. It will not regenerate everything automatically. It will keep the things that you already have generated. Of course, you can go in and regenerate if you want to, but we've taken this decision that we never kind of overrides geometry that the user has created. So if you have generated something, you're happy with your plan, we keep that. And then you can iterate on the mass to infinity, as me and other architects like to do.
Yeah, no, that I really appreciate that you guys don't overwrite the work that's been done.
So if I can also expand, Forma keeps a tab on metrics at a gross level that help designers and owners understand the programmatic needs. And I think when you have arrived to a couple of options that meet that gross area and need to start displaying a functional arrangement inside flow plates, I think that's the right time to move it into Finch.
I see, that makes sense.
Also to add to that, because we can talk about this a lot, because it's like an interesting topic when you sort of, there is always like, what do you start with? And it's like the outside, the inside, probably both. But what we didn't show here is also the possibility to go from Revit back into Forma again, because Forma and Revit is a bidirectional link, which means that either it doesn't matter if you go through Finch, you can actually feed that back into Forma again through the extension from Revit. So this means that you can double check your the analytics on your Revit model afterwards.
Can I ask a question for Anders from you as well? So are you finding clients using Forma for sustainability metrics a lot? Because I've heard, that a lot of architects, well, from experience, I don't think a lot of architects embed sustainability, even at a very high level, into their initial design ideas. And it seems to me that Forma is a really great tool to just kind of at a very conceptual level, diagrammatic, analytical level, go, here is some information about this. Are you seeing clients kind of value that, whether they're the architects or they're kind of end users?
100%. And I think tools like Forma break down barriers between different expertise within the firm. You have a designer that is excellent on designing buildings, but know less about carbon, for example, total carbon. Forma gives you that extra edge of introducing you to those different sustainability tools. Even if you're not an expert, it put the sustainability on your radar from the start, which gives you the possibility to have a conversation with people that probably might know more than you in when it comes to carbon, for example. So I think that democratize the way architects work, gives more power and more leverage earlier. So not only being able to incorporate that into your design, but also have a proper conversation earlier on.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree, and I think that's one of the real benefits of the software is to get that into the conversation much quicker, much sooner in the process. I think we need that. We do have a question here from Naveen. Does Finch have integration with Autodesk APS design automation? Be good to know if Finch results can be received on APS Revit on the cloud.
So we connect to a number of software, but from the Autodesk side, it's Revit and Forma that we connect to at the moment.
Yeah, okay. Hopefully that helps. Leo, I don't know if you've got any questions at all.
Yeah, hi, Al. Yeah, amazing product. The workflow, just really slick. Just like Arvinder was saying. I was kind of wondering, Passive House and Forma. Obviously, like the analysis and thermals that you showed was just brilliant. I completely agree with what everyone said. I was just wondering, like, do you think you'll stay at that level, or do you think you would ever develop it to that kind of like thermal integration that you get with some of these very specific sustainability tools?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think that's it's a great question in this context. I mean, that's why we collaborate with Finch, for example. We can't do everything. Forma will not be the solution for everything. Finch has an excellent tool for designing the plans, which we don't have in the same sort of sophisticated way. And I think that will go as well with tools like others, like sustainability tools. We have an integration with OneClick, for example, OneClick LCA, and other tools that does things have come a longer way on different topics. And I think it will continue to do that. And we like to be an ecosystem connector that allows for collaboration with multiple of different solutions that, for example, Finch that has have taken this stick and ran far away when it comes to plans, for example. If that makes sense.
Yeah, perfectly. Do you think, just putting out there, do you think Forma is the SketchUp killer?
We tend to not kill things.
Very diplomatic. I love
it. No, we actually try to collaborate. I mean, Forma is designed to be a collaborative tool, not only with people, but also with tools. We have a connection to a Rhino, for example, which could be seen as a very sort of hard competitor, but we like to include, and we like to be that platform that connects people and different tools.
Great.
Yeah,
nice one, Anders.
To also add to the mix, the possibilities that open cloud connected services facilitate is incredible. BIM Collaborate Pro, Finch, Forma, all those are applications connected via the cloud, and how the more the data streams between them, the more application we connect, the more value for our customers and for the industry. Once the elements are traveled to Revit, for example, you can extend the analysis to Insight for a more detailed carbon analysis, or to understand energy consumption and a more granular data, or connected to Autodesk CFD for very detailed thermal transfer. And I think that's the beauty of the workflow, that it's an open stream of data connecting multiple solutions, and it's not closed to Autodesk. It's open to additional third party.
Yeah, completely agree with everything you just said there. I think that's incredibly important to understand. Yeah, it's about moving the data around. It's not about older ways of doing things. I just wanted to say
Alistair.
thanks to Matt for his comment. Yeah, hi.
So sorry, Alistair, could I just with regard to that, I just really want to ask a quick question just about the App Store and just in terms of those data silos. Like typically, like the App Store for Autodesk is blocked from our users. They can't just download and install any apps they like. So I was just wondering, like, whether there was an easy way that as like IT admins we can get the plugins installed silently, maybe over a wide network. And then the other thing was just about how we can maybe have a bit of a central management control for the data that's produced in the web-based applications. Obviously, the web-based applications are brilliant, love it, great, less load for me to deal with, but I do need to be able to manage users groups, data silos and bits. So it's just some visibility around that. That's probably to you, Cesar.
Let's start bit by bit. The apps can be also downloaded not only from the App Store, but you can also download from the Finch site, help file. I think, and the app for the Forma app for Revit can be installed from within the software as well.
Okay.
So you don't have to go through the App Store necessary to do those connections.
Great.
And then as far as security, each domain has its own or meet certain privacy requirements as defined by regional laws. And I'm not really familiar to the detail right now. The Autodesk, maybe Anders knows better on that. But as far as the Autodesk side, we have to meet regional protocols in order to scale at a global level. Anders, I don't know if you have additional input on security concerns.
No, I mean we can go into a deep discussion on the security, and I mean we follow the Forma follow the same protocols and as Autodesk in general. I mean SOC 2 and other sort of what's it called protocols for security. When it comes to extensions, Cesar mentioned the download. The only thing that you need to download is actually the Revit and the Rhino add-in on, of course, Finch to Revit. But all sort of installing Finch in Forma doesn't require a download. It's just adding it into the bucket of extensions. So we sort of pass the issue with installing stuff in that sense. However, there needs to be installation when it comes to Revit and Finch.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I just wanted to say thanks to Matt for his comment. I think that's really helpful and really supportive, so I appreciate that. And we've got a question here from Naveen. Can Finch directly export the 3D model to IFC format, or does it require Revit to export to IFC?
At the moment, it's Revit. We don't export to IFC, and the reason to why we went that way is a lot of our customers, prioritize the native Revit format, especially for larger project that had better performance. So we get a lot of requests for ArchiCAD as well. We don't have any date for it at the moment, but we're trying to, go through extensions to the different software, so the users just with a single click of a button can get their models out to the other, because that really kind of opens up to this creative workflow rather than exporting files, sending back and forth, losing half of the data and so on. So long story short, unfortunately, no IFC export at the moment.
But if you're in Revit, you can export from Revit to an IFC, and you can then, share that on from there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. We've got more questions here coming in. Hope that's okay. Can Finch be used for non-residential programs? And separate question: if we have a program in concept, schematic design, could we use Finch to analyze our plans and suggest better, more optimized configurations?
So non-residential, if you start there, all of our data set is residential plans from all over the world. I mean, you can hack it, and it is just spaces and walls, so you can create whatever type of project you want, but our data and the things that you generate is residential first. There is other typologies on the horizon, but it's residential first now. We've seen users doing it to kind of neighboring typologies like elderly livings and hotels and this kind of things. And regarding to analyze the plans and suggest more optimized configurations, so you can upload geometry from Rhino or Revit right into Finch, and of course then you can regenerate some of the plans if you want suggestions on that. So yeah, yes, no, I haven't seen anyone uploading a full project like that, but in theory I guess it would work out.
Amazing. Okay, and I've got Naveen just said, thanks for connecting the dots. Amazing work, team. And yeah, absolutely. I think it's really incredible what you've put together and how that works now. So it's a massive bonus for the industry to be able to take forward. Okay, I think that's all our questions. I am going to do a very quick sum up and just talk a little bit about some of the work that I've been doing around generative design tools. So over the last 6 months, I've been looking at all the different generative design tools that are out there, and I have produced a report to do with that, so that if you are looking at Forma or you're looking at Finch, in this report, I've gone into loads of detail on both of those tools and done a full kind of review and assessment of both of those, along with 20 other different generative design tools at an early stage. So you can see this here. So these sessions that we've been running are in part to kind of support and show that this work has been done and it's there available for the industry. And the main thing is looking at all of these tools. They work in really amazing ways for different examples, different use cases. So if you are doing hotels, for example, there's a generative tool for that. If you're doing New York buildings and you want to work to the code in buildings, there's another generative design tool for that as well. So there's some amazing options out there, and this report, I think, is a comprehensive overview of all of them. We talk about today, the same things in these diagrams I've looked at, how we go from Forma to Finch to Revit to other tools as well. So I've looked at some other early stage design tools out there, which are like Arcol, Snaptrude, Hyper, things like that. And there's some kind of overviews of costs in there and cost of those workflows. So I'll try to make this as comprehensive as possible. There's a link on the page here. So if you do want to see that, I'd be delighted for you to have a look. There is a taster document, which is an introduction to all those tools. And I have got a discount code actually to show that as well. So if you do go there and use this discount code, you can get 10% off from all of these different options. So there's a taster document, which is an overview, the full report, which has got everything in it. And then if you want some consultancy or workshop as well, those options are on there as well. And this discount code will work for you. So use it, have a look and give me feedback if it's something you think is valuable. I'd appreciate the feedback. I really want to thank all of the speakers today. So Anders, Jesper and Cesar, we put lots of work in over the last week to get this together and to show it as a smooth integrated workflow, and I really appreciate that, and I think the viewers have as well. And this has gone out live on LinkedIn and it goes out live on YouTube, and it will be there for people to catch up on afterwards. It's also gone out live on Instagram as well. So the idea is to try and engage with as many architects and designers and say, look, these tools are here. They're ready to be integrated into your workflows. Please explore them. Reach out to all of the speakers today if you've got questions for these, either on LinkedIn or through their websites. They've all got contact details on there. So thank you very much. I really appreciate your time. And has anyone got anything else they want to add at all?
I think I forgot to mention that Forma is accessible from the Autodesk App Store. If you have the ACC collection, it's included in that. So feel free to just jump on it and try it. If you don't have the collection and the license, there is a free trial for 30 days, so you can try it out. And if you're in education, we have an education license as well. So yeah,
Yeah,
final words.
that's a really great point. And is that the same for Finch, that you can do a few free trial for a period of time, I think, Jesper?
Yes, you can either sign up to Finch Free, or you can sign up for a 14-day free trial of Finch Basic that includes more generative things. And if you are interested in Finch Enterprise, please join any of our webinars. We're having one tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. And highly recommended. Carol, Cesar.
And if I think both the Finch team and Autodesk team are here to support success in your implementation progress. So reach out if you have a specific project or a specific workflow where you are feeling you're hitting a wall. And we have resources inside to help make your test pilot project be a success.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Appreciate all your time and effort on that. I think that's been really helpful. I will let you all go. Any questions, come back to me and ask. But we'll speak again soon. And thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks all.
Thank you.